When I was first asked to do this presentation, I got a little nervous because I wondered if I'm giving the last lecture, what do they know that I don't know about what's going to happen soon? And then I started feeling sorry for the other presenters because their families and friends probably don't know they're also giving their last lecture. And then I figured it out, it's not the last lecture, it's a last lecture. But I really didn't know, just as I'm sure everybody goes through this as they try to think through this process. When I was first asked to do this, I really had no idea what I should talk about, and you always struggle with it. And, you know, I get very excited. That's why I can't stand still, because I have to walk, because I'm just so excited today. And thank you so much for asking me to do this, and congratulations to all of you. So I'm going to start out with a confession. And because it's good for the soul, number one, and number two, it will help set up this talk today. This is not going to be an ordinary talk, I guarantee you that, but I hope you'll find some good bits in it. So what's my confession? Well, my confession is I don't have a plan. I've never had a plan, and given that I'm almost years old, there's very little hope I'm ever going to have a plan, and I have to tell you, the way I run my life, even if I did have a plan, I probably wouldn't follow it. So why would you want me to talk, I guess, is the question here. Well, wait a second, I do have one plan. I plan to live forever. Oh yeah, you laugh, you scoff. So far, so good, right? So why me? I'm not special. And in fact, a story I tell in my classes is, you're not special either. I know we all like to think we're special, but recall back in probably kindergarten or first grade when your teacher looked at you and said, "We're all special." Remember that? Yeah, you're not. If you were special, you probably wouldn't be sitting here, and if I were special, I wouldn't be standing up here giving this talk either. So I'm not special, so I wonder, what can I possibly say? What could hold the interests of these students, these seniors who are so excited to get the hell out of here and get on with their lives? What could I possibly talk about? And it came to me, beer. If I talk about beer for 15 minutes, I will definitely hold their attention and get them excited. But unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of life lessons I can, turn to beer for other than don't drink too much of it. So instead, I decided to focus on those things why I shouldn't be giving this lecture. And I actually titled this, Some Very Good Reasons Why I Shouldn't Be Giving This Last Lecture and Why You Shouldn't Be Taking My Advice Anyway. So we'll see where this goes, and we'll see how it works out for us. So back in January of this year, I got a call from a Pulitzer Prize award-winning journalist, David Streetfield. Did I mention he won a Pulitzer Prize? And he contacted me because he was doing a story, an expose, on something called deceptive price advertising. I've spent the last 30 years of my life researching, giving expert witness testimony on this one topic, deceptive price advertising. You all know it, right? That's when the store or the website advertises something that was regularly $1 million, but it's on sale now for $10, and they never really sold it for $1 million. So it's a big deal. Consumers use that. The research I've done empirically shows that consumers rely on that. Even when they don't believe it, they rely on it. And so I was very flattered, naturally, and to have this Pulitzer Prize-winning author or journalist to contact me. And we spent the next 3 months working on his article and going through my research and my expert testimony and so forth. And lo and behold, on March 6th of this year, front page of the New York Times, his article hit, and I am the center of the article. He even sent a photographer up to take a picture of me. When he first contacted me, by the way, I said, I think you sent the email to the wrong address, because I honestly didn't think they would want to take a picture or anything. And so that's it. It has nothing to do with my talk today, but damn, I just wanted to share that. I mean, holy shit. I mean, it's front page New York Times, right? I mean, how do you just ignore that? Yeah, 30 years ago, 5 years ago, a year, 6 months ago, if somebody would have asked me, gee, do you think you'll ever be on the front page of the New York Times? I would have said, absolutely, of course. No, I wouldn't have. I had no idea. So I had no plan. I still don't have any plan. But here's the neat thing about this. This is what really excites me and has excited me all my life. Without expecting it, I learned so much from this experience. When he first contacted me, I honestly thought about whether or not to do this. I took some time to think about it, and I kind of reluctantly said yes, kind of the same reluctant yes I said to doing this talk. In that, you kind of wonder if you want to do it. But this guy, he really challenged me, because I think like an academic now. And thinking like a journalist is completely different. It's very challenging. He challenged me. He made me learn about myself, who I am. And that's what I really want to talk to you about today. I want to talk about our identity projects. As you all know, we're in a constant existential quest to try to find out who we are, where we belong, who we want to be, what impact we're going to have on this world, or what impact we're going to have on the person sitting next to me. So I refer to this as finding ourselves. And the interesting thing about this process is that we only find out about ourselves through others. You don't learn about yourself on your own. You have to have the others' interaction with you to reflect back on that. So one of the things I noticed when I have been involved in a lot of different projects over the years is that I talk to certain people and they tell me that their lives feel unfulfilled, or they tell me that they've wasted their lives. They don't know what they're doing or why they're doing it. They don't know what their lives are all about. And I wonder why. I mean, that's so sad when you think about it. To be 30, 40, 50, 60 years old and tell people this is where you are in your life. And so I don't have the answer in terms of an empirical answer, but I have an answer that is my hypothetical guess. And what I think is that it's because we don't live life as much as a process and an experience. We live it more from going from one goal to the next. So we're always looking for that next accomplishment. We focus on the end and not the experience. And it's really the experiences that form who we are, not the accomplishments. I would just like to point out that at this young age, I was wearing French cuffs and suspenders. So these are my identity projects. And so they actually turn out to be the reasons why I shouldn't be giving this lecture. Reason number one, I've done everything wrong in my life. At least according to the conventional wisdom at the time. For example, I got kicked out of high school twice. Disciplinary problems. But it wasn't all that bad. I mean, they let me back in, which was a good thing. But they taught me about myself. They helped me find my way. It was part of my identity project that really helped me figure out who I was and where I was going. When I was in high school, going to college wasn't even, I never even thought of it. I thought I would go to work at one of the plants. On Sunday afternoons, my buddies, myself, we would go out to this road that we had marked off a quarter-mile strip, and we would drag race all Sunday afternoon. GTOs, Chevelle, SS396s, 442s, the works. Becoming an academic wasn't even in my brain. So in high school, I bought a 1965 2+2 Mustang Fastback, and I promptly totaled it 3 months later. Again, a learning experience. But a few years later, having known now you can't do certain things when you're driving a car fast, I got a 1967 Mustang convertible. And on a way to play in a band one Saturday night, I ended up totaling it as well. And it sounds like these are great mistakes, but they were really part of my process and my identity projects. And playing in that band was absolutely critical to my development. And what I was doing is I was actually repairing roofs on Ross Dormitory during the day from 7 until 4, and then going home, showering, get ready, going in and playing in a band from 9 until 1 in the morning. You do what you have to do. So against the conventional wisdom, I played in not one but 4 different bands. I find it particularly interesting that I can't remember the name of one of the bands. I mean, I thought long and hard, but maybe it's just, you know, my age and my memory, or maybe it was just the fact that it was in the late 60s, so I'm not exactly certain. But these bands meant everything to me. I learned so much about them, and I urge all of you, if you do nothing else, if you really want to enhance your critical and your creative thinking, if you don't now, learn to play an instrument. Again, against conventional wisdom, I got married too young. As soon as I finished college, I had kids right away. I left high-paying jobs for low-paying jobs. Well, lower-paying jobs. I've been an industrial engineer, an accountant, a director of finance, and a software developer. Yeah, I had a plan. In 1983, yes, 1983, I started a software company called Just Plain Software. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit more later, but that was not the time to start a software company. IBM had just introduced the first PC, and everybody told us only big corporations can write software. And then when I was 34 years old, I packed up my wife and 3 kids. We rented a U-Haul, sold our house, gave away everything else, and I went back to be a student at 34 to get my PhD at Virginia Tech. And just to make matters even worse, I picked an area that I was going to study in that everybody told me was dead, and there would never be any research published in that area again. So my point here is that these experiences were all totally worth it because they challenged me, I learned from them, I loved what I was doing. There's not one thing I talked about that I just didn't enjoy thoroughly. And I was discovering who I was, all without a plan. Reason number 2, why I shouldn't be giving this lecture, I failed. I mean, I failed miserably. And again, it kind of begs the question, why do so many people settle for so much less than what they deserve? And I think it is that fear of failing. And why are we so afraid of failing? It's because we're so focused on the end goal instead of the experience. If we focus on the experience, then even if we don't reach that end goal completely, the benefits of the experience are going to be with us forever. Some of you know that I actually attended Clarkson University right out of high school. Remember, I didn't know I was going to go to college, and I came here. And so my first semester, I got a 1.2. I think I may be the only college professor that ever got a 1.2 in a semester. But I can guarantee you this, my second semester I buckled down and I got a 0.8. So maybe I should revise that a little bit and say I'm probably the only college professor who ever got a 0.8 in his undergraduate work. Just to let you know, of course, I recovered from all this. But this was an important failure of mine. This taught me something that I never would have learned. What this did was it challenged me, and all of a sudden, I felt I could do this, that this wasn't really difficult, I just wasn't doing anything. And it really turned me around, and this is why to this day, I strongly believe that everyone has a right to fail. It's a right that you should never give up, and it's a right that you should embrace. Here's another way how I failed. I failed to price my product correctly, and that's why the company didn't do as well as I had hoped. All the software at the time were $400 or $500 each, and we came out with $99.99, thinking it was going to, just take the market by storm. But we got a lot of calls on our 800 line and everything, but it ended up very few were selling. And so I decided to call some of the people, and they told me, well, at $99.99, we wondered whether it could do anything at all. We had priced it too low. And so that's what drove my interest in pricing. That's what drove me to go back to do my PhD and to study pricing. Reason number 3, I shouldn't be giving this lecture, is because I have this innate urge to rebel. And honestly, it has cost me sometimes, but I can't help it. It's just who I am. But I'll get some points in a minute. For example, here's a high school, my senior yearbook, one of the pictures in my senior yearbook. I was on stage crew, and you can see the arrow. That's me, clean cut, good looking little guy, not up to no good. He's no rebel, right? Yeah, but if you look closely, that's my middle finger. I was giving the finger to every administrator, teacher, and student who ever abused me in high school, and they didn't even know it. For my students in marketing, that was probably one of the earlier examples of subliminal persuasion. Here I am in college, my band days, playing foosball with my lead singer, still rebelling, if for no other reason than take a look at that tie. I mean, that's rebelling enough, but the hair, the whole schmear. My wedding day, my lovely wife, Ellen, who I owe so much to, stood by me. We'll be married, we met on August 1st, got engaged November 1st, got married the following June, and next month it'll be 42 years. But you can see I'm starting to clean up a little bit here, grow up a little bit. Then I took a dive for the worse, right? But it's who I am. I'm a little bit of a rebel, and for me it makes life more interesting and more challenging. The real sad part is, did I really want to turn out this way? I don't know. Who knows? I didn't have a plan. So all of these things I've gone back, you might say, why is he telling us these stories? What do they have to do with me and the rest of my life? Because I really think it's those reasons why I shouldn't be giving this lecture that ultimately are the reasons why maybe you should listen to me and take some of my advice. So we work our way back to David Streetfield, the Pulitzer, did I mention he won a Pulitzer Prize? 30 years of my work, my experiences, my journey, is what led up to this New York Times article. But the article is a flash. I tell you honestly, it's gone. I was humbled. I admit, I was humbled. When it first came out, my inbox was flooded with former students congratulating me and reaching out to me once again. But it's gone. But the work I did, the relationships I made, the knowledge I gained, my journey in getting there is all that matters and will always be inside me forever. These plaques on the wall, the awards I've won, mean nothing other than they remind me of those journeys and those identity projects that I've been engaged in all my life. And obviously, these things don't happen by themselves. My colleagues, my wife, my 3 children, my mother, who was very inspirational, my father, my sisters, my best man, that guy right there, we argued constantly. He challenged me probably more than any other person I've ever known because we argued about everything. I needed him desperately as a friend. Unfortunately, we lost him a couple of years ago, very young age, as we did my younger sister. And then down there at the bottom, students, you guys. I mean, every day I get up when I have classes. Yes, I know, professors only work 2 days a week. I'm understanding. I get up on the days that I have classes, and I'm so excited. I can't wait to get into the class to see what the students are going to say, how they're going to challenge me, and what I'm going to learn. I know the process is supposed to be reversed, and it is for the most part, but that's what motivates me every single day. So what's my point? What am I leading to? Well, I'm going to give you some advice. First, go against conventional wisdom at least some of the time. I mean, there's a reason why Clarkson has defy convention, right? Challenge, be challenged. My greatest joy, honestly, is when I tackle something I think I can't accomplish. That's when, the whole world stops and I get focused and I don't know anything else that's going on. I think better, I see better, I feel better. And it's okay to make some bad choices. In fact, you probably should make some bad choices, at least some of the time. Follow your heart and instincts, even when others are telling you not to. Number 2, fail, at least some of the time. And Professor Backus referred to this earlier. But it's never a failure if you focus on the experience. Embrace the failure. Take a few risks. Hell, make a few huge screw-ups. You'll learn so much from them. And it's so much fun. 3, rebel, at least a little. It's good for your soul, it's good for your mind, but the most important part of it is it reestablishes your identity. When you rebel against something you think is unfair or has injustice associated with it, you kind of balance your world a little bit, and it gives you the momentum to go on. And 4, focus on the journey. The experience is not the end. And I want to make this point clear, is that it's even for the lowest of the lows. When you are at the lowest point in your life, you're suffering the most emotional pain, failure, that is when you want to wallow in it. Let it seep right into your soul, because it's that experience, when you embrace it and you allow it to be part of who you are, then it becomes part of your identity, and you can build on it and you can use it to do better. I have to tell you, the negative side to this is that life will be more difficult in the short term. But in the long term, it will be oh so much richer and more rewarding. And I refer to this as a life well lived. And trust me on this, nothing is more influential than somebody who is living a life well lived. So live a well-lived life, my friends. Thank you.